Hello, good people. Welcome back to another YouTube video. Cheers. You ever have a cup that is just like too pretty and you don't really want to drink out of it? That's how I kind of feel about this cup. It's Chicago, which is my city, y'all. And it's a very gorgeous cup. And I don't really want to drink out of it, but all my other mugs are currently in the dishwasher, so you make do with what you got. But today we are gonna talk about Instagram. For those who don't know who I am, hi, my name's Dinah. Welcome to my channel. I own a very small business called Tico Couture, and at the moment that I'm filming this video, I have 25,000 followers. And so how on earth did I amass as many followers as I did? Well, you know, in the beginning of this journey, when I first started out, I had the questions of, oh, how on earth do I grow? Because in my mind, having an audience meant having customers, which meant having some moolah, if you know what I mean. But I found that what is perceived is very different from what is. You know what I mean? I feel like when I was doing my research and continue to do my research on how to amass a following, you know, I heard a lot of the same things, you know, be consistent, post frequently, etc., etc. I'm sure if you're here, you've probably heard those things already. I am not an expert by any means, not an expert, okay? But I do have some thoughts and really want to kind of decipher what it really means and what it truly entails to grow an Instagram account, and what you do when you finally have amassed or are beginning to see, you know, growth, and what to do with that, because I feel like that often goes unspoken. And so I'm going to be dividing this video into 3 parts. In the first part, we're going to be talking about my personal journey, how I started, so you can kind of understand my experience, and maybe in some way you can relate it to your own. Second, I think it's important to talk about what the hard truths of having an Instagram account, and especially growing a following, truly entail, and what it means to get there. And then finally, you know, is the how, you know what I'm saying, the juice of what you do and what you need to do, both with your content and also with your mindset to get to the place that you want to be. And so let's begin with my journey. So I started my account June 18th, 2020. That's when I opened my account. And that's when I started sending out the initial emails, the initial messages and DMs to people of, hey, I made this account, go follow it, help me out. And so before I even had made my first post, I had anywhere between 200 to 300 followers just by DMing people, and a good amount of people actually being responsive to it. July 9th was when I made my first post. And so I would say when I first started posting, I think that's one thing that I truly did have on my side. I was very consistent. I hit my first 1,000 followers August 11th. It really took me about a little under 2 months to hit my first 1,000 followers. And I did that mainly by reaching out to my initial network. And then come January 28th, 2021, I rebranded, and that's when I became Tico Couture. And here I was definitely just incredibly authentic. I came up with a new mission. I was a bit more focused. I did see a spike when a video in February went viral-ish. It had like 300,000 views, which I feel like when most people say viral, it's like 1 million or more. But you know, it was viral-ish. And so my account grew from like the 4,000 followers to 8,000 followers. And so to me, I was really gaining traction at this point, and I was feeling myself and doing the darn thing. But then guess what happened? I did not grow at all after that. I did not grow for about a solid year. Okay? When I first started, it took me June, July, August, September, October. It took me 5 months to get 3,000 followers. You know, that's not the fastest growth, but it's still growth that I was happy with. From the end of 2021 all up until, you know, about the end of 2022, I grew 2,000 followers. That's a year of me barely growing. And no, I didn't stop posting. I didn't stop being consistent. As a matter of fact, I felt that I was posting even a bit more frequently. And this is also when video content, started popping. And I'll admit I was a little late to the train, you know what I'm saying? But I was on the train nonetheless. And I was doing the photos and I was doing the video content, but the growth was not happening. And so this was definitely a period where I felt very detracted, where I felt very deflated, where I felt like, what the heck? I'm doing all of this work. It's not working. I don't understand what's going on. And it really had me feeling like... And at that point, November 4th, 2022, I decided that I was going to rebrand again. And so after the rebrand, at this point, we're sitting a little close to 11,000 followers, you know what I'm saying, which is still a good following. But again, we started the account in 2020. It's been over 2 years now, and we're not seeing much growth, even though we're posting consistently. I'm also not getting any orders. I forgot to mention that part, not getting any orders. But in December, mid to the beginning of December, I ended up posting a video that I literally spent 2 seconds working on, and it didn't pick up traction immediately, but about a week later, it was growing, and suddenly my numbers were growing. December, I posted that video, my account began to spike. Before the end of the year, 2022, I went from having about 11,000 followers to having almost 15,000. I hadn't even hit 15,000 yet. And then from the beginning of January to the beginning of February, that's where I saw a lot of growth. And that's why I'm now sitting at 25,000 followers. And what was I doing in this period of this growth? Honestly, I continued to post. And while that one video was doing very, very, very well, I just decided to continue to post and put more things out in my arsenal, which in the end helped the whole thing kind of come together. So that's the personal journey. Now let me take a sip before we get into this one. But y'all need to know about the hard truth of what it is actually trying to be on Instagram and actually trying to grow. So as you saw from my personal journey, yes, I hit 25,000 followers. And yes, I had about a 15,000 follower increase within the span of 2 months. But I started my account in 2020. I've had my Instagram account for about almost 3 years now, you know what I'm saying? And just started seeing that sort of exponential growth last month. And so that's one of the hard truths I feel like that Instagram doesn't necessarily tell you that you don't know as an outsider all of the time, is how much the algorithm F's with your mind. Social media kind of sucks. It has its great components, especially if you're able to get that virality video and continue to push and persevere it. But you're not in control of the algorithm. Sometimes it doesn't matter how often you post or what you post, how good your content is. You can think that you're posting a really great video, but then the algorithm doesn't pick it up. You know what I'm saying? And one of the weird things, and I've heard other people kind of experience this too, but it's like, for example, you'll post a video and you think it's gonna pop and it doesn't. And then you'll post a video that you didn't really think twice about, and then it pops. And why is that? I don't know. I haven't gotten that far to really figuring that out. Another hard truth that I've discovered is that the amount of likes or the amount of followers that you have doesn't necessarily equal the amount of sales that you'll make or the amount of money that you'll make. Now, again, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe there's something I'm doing wrong. And so these are very good things to keep in mind, because a lot of the time you'll think that it's you that's doing something wrong. And I think that can be the case sometimes. And we'll get into that once we get into the how-to. But I think it's also important to note that you can have a good content, that you can be creating a good product, but the algorithm just ain't working for you. And it is what it is. And there's not a lot that you can do about it, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can do. So, with that being said, let's get into the how-to. content is very, very, very important. You'll see it sometimes, but usually when someone hits something virality or has a page that is consistently doing well, there is something about their content that is good, that is entertaining, that is doing something in some form that has people watching it and that has people picking up over and over again. Because at the end of the day, although you can't control the algorithm pushes out the content that is being watched. So when I had the video that did well, it was a good piece of content that at the end of the day connected with people. So I'll post the example video here just so y'all can see.
Do I want my small business to blow up? Yes. Do I need my small business to blow up? Yes.
And in that video, I also had written a caption where I just did like a heartfelt, y'all, I know it's hard being a business owner, but you need to believe in yourself. And I think what this reel did and why it kept getting pushed out is because it connected with people, like on a personal note. And so there were a lot of people engaging by not only liking, but also commenting. Another thing it did is that it used a sound that a lot of other people could use. And so I think another thing that helped with the virality of the video is that people used my sound. And so when it comes to your how-to, yes, you need a good product. Yes, you need good video. And yes, you need to be, entertaining in some aspect, some way. But I'm sure these are details that you've heard from other how to grow your Instagram account videos. I think there are 3 other key important elements that you need in order to make sure that your account is getting seen, and specifically getting seen by the right people. The very first thing is authenticity. I think we are living in a world where, especially during the pandemic, trends really were the thing. People were following and doing the same thing. And there's also been a lot of commentary on everybody's feeds kind of looking the same. If we're gonna go down particularly to the crochet community niche, I know during the summer when I first started, it was a lot of this kind of like boho, granny square aesthetic, and now in 2023 we're seeing much more of like a grunge, distressed kind of alternative aesthetic, you know what I'm saying? And I do think when you are making products that are contingent with the times, it does help push it out more. But also another thing that's very important is wanting to stand out. And in order to stand out, you can't be making the content that everybody else is making. You need to find a way to put a little bit of a twist on it and to make it your own. You want to have a clear message, and this message can be anything. And so for me, my clear message is that my clothing is tied towards storytelling. And me in particular, I like to tell stories or share and uplift stories coming from communities that we often may not hear from. And so that's my particular message that I like to spread. For others, it can be a more so clear aesthetic. And so there are, for example, crochet accounts who are very much how, like I started, who are very much meant for inspiration. And as a result, if your target audience is to have other crocheters, right? Other crocheters who follow you, who want to be inspired by your work, who you may now or in the future want to sell patterns to and build community that way. That's one way to do it. If you're someone who wants to make the products and be selling directly to consumers, then you have to think about, okay, what's the message that you want to be sending? Naughty Girl Threads, for example, has been able to amass a very huge message. And I think one of the ways she was really able to connect with her audiences is by having a very specific style and aesthetic where she is very much more alternative, very much more grungy. And I think she's able to really communicate and connect with a particular audience that she can sell directly to consumers to. And so one thing that was really something that I did in the beginning that I highly recommend is looking at other accounts that are like yours or other accounts that you inspire to be, and seeing what are the things that they're doing to engage with their audiences, to be more personable and build connections, so that when someone someone sees a video, it then translates into having someone who follows and wants to be there for the long run to kind of see what your content is about, and then in the future be able to channel that into the sales that you want to make. And so I think when you are connecting deeper with your audiences, whether it's the audience you already have or the audience that you want to have, I do really believe that it makes a big impact in terms of who sticks. You know what I'm saying? Because you can have a viral video, but then who's following you after they've watched it? With that being said, it's also incredibly important and crucial that you're tracking your progress. I think it's very important to be experimental. It's very important to be experimental, especially in the beginning stages when you really don't know what you're doing, you really don't know how the algorithm works, and you're just testing things out. But as you're testing things out, like a scientist, it's very important to track, okay, you did this, what was the result, and how is that kind of result working? And one of the ways I did this is when I had that one video kind of go, viral, you know what I'm saying? I did another video where I took that kind of similar frame that seemed to appease people, and I used it in another video, and that video also ended up doing very well. And so I think it's very important to track what's doing well, what's not doing well, what are the types of videos and content that you're purely getting likes on, and then what is the video and content that you're getting engagement on. It's very important to track these things so you know when to use them, so you know how to use them. If you're trying to think more business minded and more business oriented, businesses specifically have teams who are focused on social media and also just communications in general, outreach and growth. And so this is definitely a big part as to how they're able to continue to grow and market to their consumers, by making sure that they're collecting data and using that data to create systems and to create, in this case, content that people can resonate with. Now that you know the kind of physical how-tos when it comes to content, what you need in order to back up your actions. Instagram, social media is very hard. And it's also very time consuming. A lot of the times I'll be sitting looking for a sound for hours trying to find the right thing. When I make a post, right, and it doesn't perform as well as I would like it to, it can set me back. It can set my emotions back a lot. I also find myself continuously checking my account. Like I said, it's important to track your progress, but there is a point where it does become obsessive. Every time I pick up my phone, I would feel the need to go on Instagram and be like, okay, well, how many likes are we at now? Who's messaging me, et cetera, et cetera. Very unhealthy habit. And so what are some mindset changes as well as habits that we can build to kind of help us with this process so that we can persevere even when we're not seeing results? One of the first things that I think is very important is that we create clear boundaries with social media. You do that by knowing when to turn it off, okay? And so one of the systems that I've been implementing is I'll give myself I put a timer on my phone where literally I am not on Instagram for more than a half hour every day. And then I also limit how long I'm looking and responding to comments, because especially as you grow, this is the part they don't tell you. Like, you don't know who's gonna be up in your DMs and in your comments. And for the most part, people will be kind and very uplifting. But then you'll have a few people who wanna tear you down and who wanna say some negative things. And so I think it's very important to make sure that your parasocial relationship is healthy, and you do that by setting boundaries, by setting time limits, and by instilling in your mind that how well you do on social media doesn't equate to your self-worth. You know, just because you have more or less followers, just because you're getting more or less likes or engagement, it doesn't make you any less of a creative. It doesn't make you any less talented. It doesn't make you any less of a person. And I think it's very important to remember that. And I think you remember that by making sure that you're spending time in the physical present and taking breaks and taking a step back. I also think it's important to be radical in your self-care. And as, simplistic as that might sound sometimes, I do think, me personally, I'll forget to eat, or I'll forget to get up and walk because I'm constantly trying to create and feed this never-ending algorithm. But that's the thing, it's never ending, you know what I'm saying? And it's really tough, especially when it can be tied to how much you're earning, how much you're making, your living wages. It can be very, very stressful. And so again, by setting those time frames and those boundaries and scheduling time to go for walks, to make sure you're stretching, to be drinking water, to be socializing with your friends, I think that's very important to do for your state of mind. And finally, and I'm probably gonna sound like a broken record, but you really do need to believe in yourself. And that doesn't mean that you believe in yourself 100% of the time, but you need to believe in yourself enough so that you do not quit. Like I said, I've had this Instagram account for a very long time now, and I just hit the 25K mark. I feel like I'm just beginning to get on the cusp of my potential. And if I had stopped during that year period, like I said, where I wasn't seeing much growth, where it literally took me a year, even though I was consistently posting, to even see 2,000 follower growth in a year, and I quit during that period, I would never have gotten to the part where I am now, where I literally grew over 15,000 followers in the span of less than 2 months, like legitimately. And so you do have to have faith, and you do have to have trust in yourself. As you continue to do this, you will learn more. You will kind of be able to finesse the beast a bit better. And I think, you know, by continuing to stay true to your authentic self, to stay true to what is it that you like about, you know, your business, what is it that you like to do, not solely relying and following on trends. They're going to die out. And when they die out, what are you going to do next? You know, it's a combination of literally everything that I've said, but it is truly important to make sure that you do not give up on yourself. Because if you give up on yourself, then you may never know what it could have turned into. So that concludes this video of how I now grew to 25,000 followers on my crochet business account. There are so many things to talk about on this topic. I feel like I barely dug the surface, and I just gave a very surface level review of all of the things that I kind of come to know now. I've been doing this for a while, but I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, if you would like me to make, you know, a continuation of this, please leave it in the comment section below. Let me know what your specific questions are. Best of luck on your own journeys, y'all. You've got this. Remember to believe in you and to not beat yourself up when the algorithm isn't working for you. You just got to continue working for yourself. And I promise, the more you go, the more the path will be clear. But until further ado, take care. Mwah! Peace.
I was born to be great.